In this video, I'm going to be philosophizing on outside expeditions into one's more choice of course. This means that the one whom, within the forthcoming step-by-step introspections, inferring what it is within the explorations one is curious about discovering within the journey, and what about wandering about is meaningful. Not to necessarily find oneself wandering aimlessly, experiencing meaninglessness, yet to necessitate proactive wandering, not necessarily always with a distinct destination, yet some rough destination is often meaningful, yet it depends on the desire one has to explore. Be it one may walk to satisfy a certain underlying psychological need for meaning in life. Exploring one's contents of consciousness as one is more curious within the prior existing mind wanders to discover one is in more deliberate introspections, not necessarily as vague in terms of the distinct component parts and or processes within one's direct perceptions, connecting the distances with clarity as one thinks into the gaps of meaningful information in order to fill in the gaps of meaningful information. Exploring within the wanderings the tools and or technologies one forges within one's own being. More curious within the step-by-step elaboramente jornada, uma venturas para o quest de appreciative, engaging more forward thinking, future-oriented processes, cultivating meaningfulness in the depths. Meaning creates meaningfulness processes from the surfacing of certain wows prior existing to the ahas, as the wows are truly what pertains to distinctions within curious, meaningful emotions, more related to the self-virtue of appreciation for aesthetics and or the beautiful, elegant component parts and processes one engages direct perception to recognize what's meaningful about distinct component parts and or processes with the, oh wow, thinking what it is that's so meaningful and or recognizing why certain component parts or processes to the self existingly hold the meaningfulness, cultivating within one's being deeper self-knowledge and or self-awareness, allowancing for more ahas, connecting distant ideas to fill in gaps in meaningful information. Not the same, yet holds meaningful similarities, connecting certain component parts and or processes within one's curiosities, engaging more wandering, not necessarily just within one's mind, yet with the environment, often exploring distinct textures with one's hands, or often in a distance with one's vision to infer certain textures and or experiment with distinct tools and or technologies. One may also tend to look around more and tend to process distinct component parts and or processes within the internal and or external environment in relation to certain questions and or elaborations into what's that hold distinct journeys as one elaborates, may come to a existing unknown and or problem one may encounter experientially the gaps in meaningful information to resolve certain underlying problems and or to satisfy certain underlying psychological needs for meaning in life, cultivating one's self-knowledge and or self-awareness, and or satisfying certain underlying psychological needs for knowledge within the elaborations, often connected to the need for meaning in life, to elaborate what's meaningful within one's knowledge, to cultivate self-knowledge and or self-awareness meaningful to the self whom is on a journey exploring the known unknowns meaningfully, and or cultivating the practical wisdom one may carry throughout one's existencia for the will to allowance more probabilistic possibilities for the self to meaningfully engage optimizations of certain intracategorical and or intercategorical effectivenesses and or efficiencies, optimizing one's domain-specific conduct one desires to engage meaningfully within the wandering explorations, allowancing for one's cultivation of creatividade. That's all I want to say for this video. Hope you have an awesome one and keep looking at this episode.